you to Makoto Taiko for that incredibly spirited performance. They never fail to inspire us, and they never fail to lift our spirits. So let's give them a huge round of applause. What a wonderfully energetic way to start our celebration this afternoon. I'm Anne Burrows. I think most of you know who I am, but some of you who may not. I'm Anne Burrows, and I have the incredible honor of being the President and CEO of the Japanese American National Museum. And a very good afternoon and welcome to you all. Consul General Sone, Representative Mark Takano, Supervisor Hilda Solis, our honored guests, all of you, it's a pleasure to have you join us today as we celebrate the launch of what will be our momentous campaign that will revitalize, amplify, deliver, and secure JANM into the future. Thank you for your incredible support and your belief in the importance of the work that we do. I'm delighted now to welcome our very first speaker, the visionary chair of our Board of Trustees, Bill Fujioka. Bill has dedicated his life to public service, rising to the highest levels of city and county government, the first Asian Pacific Islander, the first person of color to serve as CEO of the City of Los Angeles and the Chief Operating Officer of the County of LA. We're extremely fortunate to have Bill at our helm. Come on up, Bill, it's you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Anne. But most importantly, thank you for your leadership, your vision, and your commitment to JANM. I also want to thank the staff here at JANM, and most importantly, our volunteers, who play an extremely important role on everything we do. On behalf of the JANM Board of Trustees and Governors, welcome to the public launch of our promise. This is our museum's historic comprehensive fundraising campaign. Our museum was established, or when our museum was established, I'm gonna get dizzy looking at this teleprompter, but when it's established, our founders promised that JANM would not only preserve the history of the Japanese community in America, but also be a voice. You'll hear others say a beacon of social justice and civil rights to ensure the forced removal and incarceration of Japanese Americans in 1942 create a valuable lesson in the world of civil rights. The struggles and successes of the Japanese community are similar to other immigrants who came to America. Ours is an immigrant story, but each one of you, regardless of who you are, your race, your ethnicity, your religion, we all were immigrants at one point. The Issei, the first generation America, came to this country in the early 1900s to seek a better life for their families, like a lot of other immigrants. They came with nothing, and through hard work and perseverance, they built the foundation of success for their children and future generations. All of this was lost in 1942, when they were unjustly forced from their homes, branded enemies of their adopted country, and placed in assembly centers and concentration camps. Despite this gross injustice, their children, the second generation called Issei, volunteered to fight for America. And through their amazing bravery, they showed the world the honor and strength of our community. Other members of the same generation had also exhibited amazing strength, but they said no, and they stood up to fight for the injustice imposed upon our community. Now and forever, we honor all members of the Issei and Nisei generations for their courage, sacrifice, and bravery. I want to interject something. Because JANM, we often talk about our history, and in fact, we're preserving our history and we're retelling our story. But even more important, we're here to tell the story of the success of subsequent generations. The success and contributions of the Sansei, and now the Gosei. We have individuals like Congressman Mark Takano, who now represents us in Washington, D.C. We have Dr. Terasaki, and if anyone who's ever had a transplant, regardless of who and what you are, if they've ever had to have a transplant, they owe their life to this individual, a proud Japanese American. We have the stories of our history, but even more important, JANM will make the effort, and we have a promise to tell the stories of our success today and the contributions our community, the Japanese American community, is making to America. Today we're celebrating, highlighting the largest campaign in JANM's history to not only secure our future, but also transform our exhibits, our programming, and the impact we can make. Our campaign, a $65 million campaign, will help us revitalize our campus, amplify our national presence, deliver story and resources in bold new ways using smart technology, what an old guy like me just doesn't understand, secure JANM's future by endowing core functions, and most importantly, increase our impact on the fight for social justice, equity, and democracy. As I said, we're an immigrant community. The many stories of the Japanese community are similar to other communities throughout America. It's JANM's mission to promote understanding and appreciation of America's ethnic and cultural diversity through our community's experience, the Japanese American experience. I think a lot of you know that one of our major programs is where we bring thousands of kids into JANM, most from Title I schools, kids of diverse backgrounds. A majority of them are from recent immigrant families. It is my hope that when they come to JANM, and the collective hope of the board and everyone working at JANM, when they come to JANM, maybe we can touch their heart. Maybe they can see what happened to the Japanese American community. And as they grow older and they become a Congress member like Mark Takano, or a supervisor like Hilda Solis, and they remember what they saw here. So when they move forward and they make their own impact on America, they become champions of social justice. So today, I encourage you, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to everyone, and support our campaign. You will help us revitalize, amplify, deliver, and secure JANM's future for generations. This is how we will make an impact. This is how we'll get together to make that impact, to make a brighter future for America, for which we all can be proud. Thank you very much for your support. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Consul General Kenko Sone. He's been here a relatively short time, but during his time, the impact he has made for JANM and the impact he has made for strengthening the relationship between Japan and not only our community, but the entire community here in Southern California has been nothing short of amazing. And so it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Consul General Kenko Sone.
Thank you, Bill. Your introduction of mine is too much and makes me very nervous. Congressman Mark Takano and the LA County Supervisor Hilda Solis, and my good friend Bill, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, and Anne, Presidency of the JANM, and board members, staffs, and guests gathering here today for this special launch event. My name is Kenko Sone. I'm Consul General of Japan in Los Angeles. As Bill explained, I've been here close to 1 year, but the JANM is always my important part of my journey here. It's so a pleasure to join you to celebrate this past, present, and future of JANM, and the vision for the future, the vision for this exciting next step in your historic fundraising campaign. I congratulate JANM and all those who made it possible to reach this incredible milestone. And applauded your dedicated efforts. With today's announcement inviting to the public to join the campaign. The ultimate goals for achieving this campaign, I feel it's very close, almost close to meet this goal. As I may said, I arrived in Los Angeles September last year, and entrusted my post as the Consul General. Just next day, I came to JANM to meet with Anne and to learn about what the JANM is doing. I am proud to see as a Consul General of Japan in this region, with the largest number of the Japanese American in the United States. The museum representing the National Japanese American community plays an indispensable role in advancing civil rights and democracy for diverse communities throughout the United States. In Prime Minister Kishida's message for JANM's comprehensive campaign, he stated, Japanese Americans have overcome numerous difficulties and contributed to the prosperity of American society over the past century, earning the trust and respect of the American people. Their presence and the efforts have not only contributed to the deeper mutual understanding between the people of Japan and the United States, but also have inspired the Japanese people in Japan as well as in the United States. Following its role over the 30 years, bridging the US and Japan, JANM is ready to step into a new chapter. I feel it is important to preserve and remember the history of the past and pass it on to the future generations. And I consider it our mission to support JANM in advancing increased understanding among diverse community in the United States through the history of Japanese Americans. In this new chapter, JANM will reimagine the museum exhibit using cutting-edge technologies in order to relay its message across the present and the future generations by applying the lessons of the Japanese American history to the current challenges at this turning point in history. I'm confident that reimagining will contribute to the continued advancement of the US-Japan Alliance's role in promoting universal values of democracy, human rights, and an even broader future of our society. So this campaign goes beyond a simple fundraising effort to further amplify the Japanese American story, introducing it to an even wider audience. So I hope many more people will encounter these stories of Japanese American history, and they will truly appreciate their depths and values. For the sake of our younger and the future generations, I pray for the campaign, a comprehensive campaign's great success. So thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you very much, Consul General. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce and bring to the stage Supervisor Hilda Solis. Like us, like my family, a lot of your families, probably all of our families, Supervisor Solis came from a family of immigrants. Her family came to this country with nothing, but through their perseverance, through their hard work, they set the foundation for their daughter to rise to the highest levels of local, state, and national government. Her dedication to community and equity is evident in every single thing she does on a daily basis. But on a very important note, I need to publicly acknowledge Some of you know that our regional connector is named after Secretary Norman Mineta, a former chair of the Board of Trustees for the Japanese American National Museum. It was Supervisor Solis who made the motion to make this happen. She has also generously provided financial support for JANM. For this, the JANM family, the community will be forever grateful to the supervisor. So Supervisor Solis, please.
Hello everyone, buenas tardes. I'm Supervisor Hilda Solis, representing the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, and I'm so pleased to join all of you here today for the first comprehensive campaign for the future of the Japanese American National Museum. Over the years, the museum has showcased many wonderful exhibits that highlight the history of the Nikkei experience in this country, as well as the community's deep roots with Japan and with the rich cultural traditions that have been carried through the generations and practiced by Japanese Americans today. And most importantly, the museum has been a relentless advocate for equality and dignity and respect for all people, because this country must never forget Executive Order 9066 that was executed out of fear and hate during World War II, which resulted in over 120,000 Japanese Americans and people of Japanese descent being incarcerated without due process. Tens of thousands of those people were summoned to assemble right here in Little Tokyo where we stand. The impact of this most undemocratic and un-American act had a lasting and ripple effect on generations of Japanese Americans that is felt even today, 81 years later. As Americans, we are horrified by the idea that the civil liberties that we hold sacred, which is at the core of this country's foundation, were simply stripped away. The Japanese American National Museum, as you know, serves as a steward of this history and timeless reminder of what it is at stake to lose when democracy fails and we as a people do not stand up for what is right. And we are being tested right now as I speak. But this museum is also more than that. It is itself a symbol of hope, the undeniable proof of a community that has flourished in spite of the indignities and atrocities its ancestors endured. The museum is a convener of people and ideas and celebrates diversity, which is evident in their exhibits and programming. It is a cultural anchor for Little Tokyo and represents the best of the Japanese American community and really the best of all of us. So I'm honored to stand with you here in support of the museum and its promise to the Nikkei who have gone before us. This country will never forget or repeat the sins committed against them, and the promise of future families that we will never forget and protect and preserve their community's history and culture. Least us forget who we are. How do we move forward if we don't know what our history is? And how do we prevent this from ever happening again? The museum supporters who are here today for helping the museum keep that promise, I commend you. And I wish you all a successful campaign. And to my friends, Fujioka family, to the consulate, to our congressman, and to all the supporters and volunteers, and those that should hear about this story, let us continue to fight this together in unity. Unidos in Spanish. Podemos hacer mucho. In our language, we say, si se puede, yes we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Solis. You've always been such an inspiration to me. You've been such an inspiration to our community, to our city, and to our country, because you've always put people first. And thank you for those words of recognizing the importance of JANM, both for the community and the importance that JANM remains, that it will always be a vibrant, energetic place in the middle of our city. So thank you so much. And it's now my great pleasure to welcome my friend, Representative Mark Takano, to the stage. For over 20 years, Representative Takano has worked for the people of Riverside County and across the nation, first as a teacher and as an elected representative. And he's been, throughout his life, he's been an educator, he's been a tireless fighter for civil rights, and a tireless fighter for veterans' rights. And then in 2012, he became the first openly gay person of color to be elected to the Congress to represent the 41st Congressional District, and since the beginning of 2023, the 39th Congressional District. And Norm would always say, Norm felt a sort of sense of, we all knew we loved Norm, he was a leader, he was our leader, and there were few things that gave him more joy than to see Japanese Americans excel. And I remember him saying to me that Mark was one of those people who not only lived the values of his communities and lived the values of his ancestors, but he also found a way to stand on the shoulders of the very best. So Mark, it's always a privilege to have you at JANM. Please come up.
Mine. And thank you for that very kind introduction, and thank you all for being here to support the Japanese American National Museum. So I am Mark Takano, and this museum means so much to me and my own family. On my recent visit to JANM, I was asked to partake in the Ireicho exhibition and add a stamp next to the names of my relatives who had been held in internment camps, including the names of my parents, grandparents, great aunts, and great uncles. And my parents and grandparents were interned at Hart Mountain, Wyoming, later transferred to Tule Lake. My paternal grandfather and grandmother were at Tule Lake from the very outset. My auntie Toyoko was held in Minidoka in Idaho. And of course, I had great uncles who also served in the Army, the 442nd, while their families were held captive by the very government they took an oath to protect, and who ultimately gave their lives in sacrifice. My great uncle Manso, I just recently learned, was in the famed I Company. And as you know, the I Company had only 8 who were left standing. The others were either killed or injured. And my uncle was one of those who was injured, and miraculously he went back into serve through the next several months until the month of April, when he died in combat, just a few weeks short of VE Day. Imagine that situation, all your relatives, my aunts, uncles, and parents and grandparents in internment camps, while he's giving it all for our country. The Ireicho is a memorial to the struggles and perseverance of our community and contains the first comprehensive list of more than 125,000 people of Japanese ancestry who were incarcerated in the camps. So to Ambrose and all the staff here at JANM, what a wonderful experience it was to place the stamp next to their names. Those 125,000 people, became dubiously involved in American history. And exhibitions like the Ireicho serve as a painful but necessary reminder that throughout our history, our Constitution has been tested, and that our democracy at times can become fragile. We need spaces like this museum to tell these stories and to serve as a reminder to the American people, to serve almost like as a Greek chorus to all of our leaders, as a moral guide to those leaders. JANM is more than an achievement of the Issei and Nisei, as was said by our president, Mr. Fujioka. It is a beacon of civil rights that through its exhibitions and programming preserves our history and tells the stories of the immigrant struggle, stories of fighting racism, and the stories of the moments in American history which we would never wish to repeat. It is our tool to hold up democracy when it is in a fragile moment. The last administration proved how quickly our history can be dismissed and the mistakes of the past can be revived. And I think of the Nobel Prize American author, William Faulkner, who said the past is never dead. It's not even the past. Meaning that it's interesting how the past can creep up on us and kind of come to life again. When the Trump administration began working on a Muslim travel ban and wanted to revive the Muslim registry, I was horrified not only by their plans, but I was horrified by how Donald Trump and Trump officials justified their policy proposals using Korematsu v. United States as the legal precedent. The past is never dead. It's not even the past. I was horrified when the Trump administration insisted on separating immigrant families, locking children in cages, and creating makeshift prison camps in the middle of the Texas desert. I spoke out, and I know some folks in this room spoke out against this injustice. And as Japanese Americans, our unique history as Americans who were incarcerated, or who had family incarcerated as, quote, enemy aliens, end quote, has prepared us to take a stand and speak out against justice if we answer the call to do so, if we do not remain silent. And what I found interesting or surprising during the Trump administration was that we were not alone in reminding the American public about the similarities between Trump's executive orders and Executive Order 9066. Among our unlikely allies, or surprising allies, who spoke out against the former president's policies was former First Lady Laura Bush, who said, and I'm quoting, quote, "Our government should not be in the business of warehousing children or making plans to place them in tent cities. These images are eerily reminiscent of the internment camps for U.S. citizens and non-citizens of Japanese descent during World War II. Now considered to have been one of the most shameful episodes in U.S. history," end quote. And yes, I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to the former Secretary, the late Secretary Norm Mineta, for the influence that he had on the Bush family while he was Secretary of Transportation. And I know even President George W. Bush said during the memorial services how important Norm Mineta was during those discussions at the cabinet level as our government was trying to work its way through the early 2000s. The past is never dead. It's not even the past. History can and will repeat itself unless we speak up. We have a special responsibility to tell our stories, to educate others, and to take a stand. And spaces like JANM are important. Important as never before, as our democracy, as the supervisor said, is being tested again. They help us tell the stories that shape our nation. And our story is a significant story that I learned in my sophomore tutorial at Harvard. The tutors told us of 5 or 6 great tests of our Constitution, and internment of Japanese Americans was one of those great tests. So this campaign and your presence here today is incredibly meaningful. Your support today is more than helping revitalize this campus. It's ensuring that our community, and that every visitor, and that future generations are armed with the tools and the knowledge to educate others and fight injustice. And so that there are more Laura Bushes who will say, this reminds me, this situation reminds me of what happened to Japanese Americans, and we cannot let this happen again. That underscores the importance of the moral mission of JANM. So thank you all for being here and being part of this mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Takano, for that extraordinarily inspiring speech, and thank you for reminding us of the importance of history, and thank you for reminding us of what can so easily happen when the lessons of history are forgotten, and how easily the past can be a prologue to the present. And thank you for reminding all of us about how important JANM is as a center for civil rights, as a beacon for civil rights in this country, and how important JANM is in safeguarding democracy and in safeguarding the future of this country. Thank you to Bill, thank you to Consul General Sone, thank you to Supervisor Solis for your moving remarks and your commitment to securing JANM's future. Consul General, as a representative of the Japanese government, formally I would like to thank you in front of all of us for the incredible support that we've received from the government. Thank you for reading the words from Prime Minister Kishida's letter in support of our campaign. We could not be where we are had it not been for the support of your predecessor, of you, and of your colleagues. And in fact, JANM, our pavilion, would not be here had it not been for the incredible support that we received from Japanese companies all those years ago. And now I get to the big reveal, because I get to tell you where we are. And I am delighted to share with you that to date we've raised $48 million, which is 74% to our goal of $65 million. $48 million is a remarkable achievement by any measure, and it's a testament to the strength and the unity of our community, to the generosity of our supporters, to our staff, to our leadership, many of whom are sitting right here with us today. Our Promise campaign is the largest fundraising campaign in JANM's history. It's a campaign to secure the bedrock of JANM's future, to transform our physical and digital presence, our exhibitions and our programming. And we have very bold plans and a very bright future. With our campaign, we'll reimagine and renovate our galleries and our core exhibition to create dynamic and cohesive spaces for our visitors. We'll name our plaza after Norm, the Norman Y. Mineta Democracy Plaza, because it was here on this very plaza where families lined up and were forced to board the buses that would take them onto America's concentration camps. It's from our plaza that we derive our power of place. And because it stands as a ground zero point in the civil rights history of this country, because it stands as a bridge between the past, the present, and the future. We will also relaunch the National Center for the Preservation of Democracy. As you heard from Representative Takano, with the deepening divisions within civil society, the rise of hate in all its forms, the attacks on democracy itself, and the need to build bridges around the issues that unite us rather than divide us, is more urgent than it's ever been. And we'll name the Democracy Center for the Senator, and we'll rebrand it as the Daniel K. Inouye National Center for the Preservation of Democracy. What better way to honor these two extraordinarily great Japanese Americans, Norm and the Senator, than to honor their leadership and contributions to JANM and their lifelong commitment to ensuring that this nation lives up to the promise of democracy. We'll use the arts to more fully tap into the rich cultural heritage of the past. We'll use the arts to tap into collective memory making, and to its ever-changing expression in the present. And as you walk through our galleries, you'll already see how we've used smart technology and digital art to drive the way that we tell our stories, how we've used it to connect the most personal past to the present. And our campaign makes 4 promises. And with your support, we'll reach our goal of 64 million. Our first promise is to revitalize our campus. Our goal for this promise is to raise $20 million. Our second promise is to amplify our national voice. We'll energize the Democracy Center as a platform for civic engagement with events and issues that shape our nation, including race, the fragility of democracy, our shared values, civil rights, social justice, and the arts. And our goal for this is $7.5 million. Our third promise is to deliver. And with $17.5 million, we'll strengthen the museum's ability to tell stories in bold new ways, to create new experiences, to use smart technology to share our resources nationally, and to provide rich learning opportunities for our audiences across the nation. And our fourth and final promise is to secure JANM's future by adding $20 million to endow our core functions. And at the center of our first promise to revitalize our campus is the renovation of our public spaces to accommodate a new core exhibition that will retell the Japanese American history, the Japanese American story, as an American story, as a story of connectedness with other communities, as a story of how Japanese America continues to shape democracy. Visitors will step off the Mineta Plaza directly behind you through a relocated entrance. This hall, Aratani Central Hall, will be transformed into a new multi-use lobby and gathering space. And our second floor galleries will be reconfigured into one continuous gallery space that will allow us to present larger exhibitions. And you see behind me a few more artists' renderings of what those galleries might look like. And in order for us to complete the renovations, the pavilion, the home to JANM's main galleries, this building that we're sitting in now, will close to the public in December 2024. And as we revitalize our campus, our key exhibitions and our programs will tour around the country and the city. Our historic building and Democracy Center, both located directly behind you, will be open for public programming. And we will take JANM, we will have a mobile education lab that will take JANM into classrooms across the nation and into classrooms in Los Angeles. And a revamped Discover Nikkei platform will reach the Nikkei diaspora across the globe. So we're counting on your support. We're counting on your support in the same way that we counted on the support of your families all those years ago when JANM was a promise and the pavilion was just a dream. All those years ago when Irene Hirano spoke to your families and she spoke to some of you about the dream of what JANM could be. So you and your families have built this museum, and your support has helped to make it the center of excellence that it is today. Now we need your help to secure JANM's future for generations to come. I cannot thank you enough for being with us today. And I know that we'll be able to count on you. So take a moment. We have a video for you to watch. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Wendy Shiva, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as chair of JANM's Our Promise campaign. My husband, Larry Pittman, and I strongly believe in JANM's mission, which is why we made the inaugural gift to the campaign. It was by far our largest gift to any charitable organization. JANM is our top philanthropic priority because by sharing the Japanese American experience, it promotes understanding and appreciation of America's ethnic and cultural diversity and our commitment to civil liberties and social justice. Our story is an American story. The Our Promise campaign stands on our founders' vision that JANM would be a beacon of civil rights to ensure that what happened to Japanese Americans during World War II would never again happen to any other group. And now, we invite you to help us revitalize, amplify, and secure JANM for the future. We are proud to have 100% participation by our Board of Trustees. They are joined by members of our Board of Governors and many other community leaders in supporting this historic campaign. These leadership gifts have helped us raise $48 million to date, 74% toward our campaign goal of $65 million. Please accept our deepest thanks for your generous support. And now, please watch the video to learn more about the Our Promise campaign. And please join us as we amplify JANM's vision, fulfill our founders' promise, and lead the way to a more just future. Thank you very much.
JANM's mission is to promote the understanding and appreciation of America's ethnic and cultural diversity by sharing the Japanese American experience. The promise of our founders was that the museum would stand as a bastion of civil rights to ensure that what happened to Japanese Americans in 1942 would never happen to any other group. Today, JANM is proudly recommitting to our promise to shine the light of history, to inform the present, and to shape a more just future. We must tell powerful stories to demonstrate history's relevance and urgency so that we never forget. Our promise is to honor JANM's power of place, the ground zero site where hundreds of Japanese Americans boarded the buses that signaled the start of their incarceration, to stand firm against discrimination, racial injustice, and rising Asian hate, to gather our community, to talk through issues in ways that unite rather than divide. Our story is an American story. This is the JANM that our country needs, and this is the JANM that we promise to deliver. To continue to fulfill the promise of our founders, the Japanese American National Museum is embarking on the largest comprehensive campaign in our history to raise $65 million to secure our future and to transform our physical and digital campus, our exhibitions, and our programming. Revitalize. Redesign and repurpose JANM's campus to provide welcoming, cohesive, and dynamic spaces for audiences. Amplify. Re-energize the National Center for the Preservation of Democracy as a platform for civic engagement with events and issues that shape our nation, such as race, the fragility of democracy, shared values, civil rights and social justice, and the arts. Deliver. Power the museum's ability to tell stories in bold new ways, create new experiences using smart technology, share our resources nationally, and provide learning opportunities with general operating support. Secure. Secure JANM's future by endowing core functions. A campaign this ambitious requires the partnership and support of our entire community to succeed. We need visionary donors who believe in the promise of JANM to have broader relevance in America. Only by working together can we share the major themes and issues that shaped Japanese American history. Barriers to immigration, access to citizenship, racial violence, discrimination, and failure of constitutional protections. Together, we have the opportunity to strengthen the future of JANM and to proudly tell our story in bold and innovative ways. With your help and your support, JANM will use our national platform to inspire visitors through stories of resilience and compassion, examine the promises and pitfalls of America, and interrogate the legacies of race and inequality. Our strength will come from all parts of the community. Most importantly, the Japanese American community who founded our museum and who continue to bring its history to life. We ask you to walk beside us in our journey as we amplify the voice of JANM and lead the way to a more just future. Join us in fulfilling our promise to our ancestors, our community, our nation, and future generations.
Thank you to our team at our Watasi Media Arts Center for putting that film together, and to Tamlin Tomita, one of our governors, for doing the voiceover. You also saw in our video Wendy Sheba, who is our campaign chair and a trustee. And Wendy's vision and her leadership have been instrumental in helping us set our sights on reaching our $65 million goal. She couldn't be with us because she had another commitment, but we felt it was so important that we needed to have Wendy's spirit in the room. So now, as we think about the future, and as we build the future, we're not just talking about building a place, we're not just talking about birthing an idea, but we're talking about people. We're talking about preserving history. But as we think about the people that are going to do this in the future, we know that we have to also look to new leadership. And I'm so delighted now to bring up to the stage two of our newest governors, two of our newest leaders to the museum. They've stepped up and they've taken the mantle of leadership from their parents' generation. So please welcome Jennifer Hirano and Josh Morey to the stage.
And thank you so much. We are actually joined by a very special guest. Josh will introduce her. I'm pretty sure she's going to steal the show, which takes a lot of pressure off of the two of us. But we are so happy. I'm so happy to be here today for the launch of the comprehensive campaign. Thank you all so much for being here to support this important next phase of the Japanese American National Museum. My mother, the museum's founding director and CEO, Irene Hirano Inoue, alongside the museum's trailblazing founders, laid the important groundwork when they opened the museum in 1992. And now, our work continues. I, alongside my family and the Inoue family, am thrilled that the National Center for the Preservation of Democracy will soon carry my stepfather, Daniel K. Inoue's name, and that future visitors will always have the opportunity to learn of his lifelong, steadfast commitment to democracy and justice. I was 11 years old when JANM first opened its doors to the public just across the plaza. It's really difficult to articulate what it meant to be a young person then, the immense pride that I felt seeing Japanese American history told and celebrated in exhibits like A View from Within, America's concentration camps, and eventually Common Ground. The museum provided such a full, rich telling of our stories and our contributions that were so much bigger than the brief mention that I got through my school textbooks. I'd like to acknowledge the volunteers that are here today that played such an instrumental role in bringing those exhibits and those programs to life. It's such a special part of the museum that we have such a dedicated group of volunteers, and so thank you so much to the ones that are here today and to everybody who's here in spirit. I know that many of you have similar stories and experiences about what it felt like to walk through JANM, to feel that emotion and pride, being a part of this community, and to see yourself reflected in some of these great exhibits. This campaign is a chance for me to pay that feeling forward. Our founders knew that the World War II experience would define and shape us, but would not be our only story. Josh and I have been fortunate to work with the next generation of Japanese American leaders here in Los Angeles as part of an initiative with the support of Consul General Sone, and I am constantly inspired by my peers and what we want to accomplish together in areas of diversity, gender equality, and politics. I am continuing my family's commitment to JANM and pledging my support as a governor because there is a whole new generation of voices to amplify and embrace. And because JANM is an institution that constantly looks to the future and strives to innovate. Our communities and our families are increasingly diverse. Future generations, and not just Japanese Americans, need to learn about our history and have that same opportunity to see themselves and our ever-changing stories reflected in exhibits like Glenn Kaino's Aki's Market and a reimagined Common Ground. I hope that you will join us in supporting this exciting next phase of the museum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. I echo everything Jennifer said, and it's been such a pleasure to, over the past year, really get to know and work together on this Next Generation Japanese American Initiative. I just, as Jennifer was talking, I just have this deep sense of gratitude for what Jennifer's family has done for this museum, and from her mom Irene or her father, the senator. So I just wanted to, JANM wouldn't be here without what your family's done. So it's so cool to see you taking on the next generation of leadership. My name is Joshua Mori. I'm a JANM Board of Governor. This is Johanna Mori. She was not planning to come with me today, but she wouldn't let me leave the house without her. So, and now she won't let me leave the chair without her coming on stage. So I don't think she's going to say anything. Yeah, I'm a fourth generation Japanese American, fourth generation business owner, and I think as I was sitting here listening, Anne said something just so powerful to me that resonated, and it was this power of place. And you heard it in the video too, and I had a few seconds just to reflect on, I don't know why those words hit me so hard. And I have an office 2 doors down. My great-grandfather immigrated in the late 1800s, started one of the first businesses here in Little Tokyo called the Asia Company. And throughout that first generation, he built a great business, import-export, to support the community here. And I think I almost start crying because it's just, this place is just so powerful to me. And when I think about my family, this place, even looking at the plaza here, it's so powerful to me. And so, when I think about even my great-grandfather and a few feet away from his office, being the whole community having to pack up and get on buses and leave to internment camps, it breaks my heart, and we have to keep telling that story, and we can never let that happen again. But I even thought a little bit further that even after the camps, returning here, this was also a place of power. And as we were rebuilding our community, that this was a place of power. And when JANM was launched, the first exhibit being about the Issei, right, and really about their contribution. And then the next exhibit of Common Ground coming and telling our story about the camps and how that can never happen again. And I think we just sit in a very special place now because we can dream and imagine about what happened in the past to remember how we've rebuilt, and then now I think the word amplify has been used a lot today, but how can we amplify those stories now to the next generation? And I think we've been doing a great job with programming exhibits to make our story relevant to others. But now as we're thinking even further than that with this capital campaign, the revitalization of the plaza and what this museum's gonna look like, to also just being able to see all the digital impacts from AI to virtual reality, augmented reality, TNT June, we'll be able to talk to you and hear your story, right? And so I think rather than just impacting thousands of people, which we have the opportunity now through this next stage of JANM to really impact millions through our story. And so I think it hit home for me when you said like this power of place, because this place means a lot to me, and this community, this museum, this place is so powerful. So I think as we look to the future, in representation of our family, Jojo, I hope you're listening, because this is your responsibility going forward, right? Maybe we'll save the recording, I'll show her later. But really the excitement of what can this amplified impact look like for the next generation. So we're so committed, our family's committed, and the next generation is already committed too. So I just wanted to thank you all for being here this afternoon. This is a very exciting time, and we were actually going to wrap up the program with, I think Tycho is going to be leading us out into the courtyard. But please, I think the rest of the day there's a photo booth, there's also refreshments, and please tour the museum. So thank you very much for being here.